Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news, and this morning we're going to be focusing on trouble ahead for Manchester United. Maybe not in the immediate future, but certainly when you look at this board that keeps almost revamping themselves as a new entity. I thought Jan Argefjortov got it absolutely spot on today. There was a story that came out, something along the lines of Manchester United in their search for a new manager. They want a manager that wins trophies, plays attractive football and promotes the youth. And this is maybe a leak. And Jan Argefjortov's quote tweeted it and said, "What? Like that's unique? Like not every other club in the world wants that." And that's what I mean. It's like we have got a new CEO, but he's been at the club for years. And everybody else around him has been at the club for years. But what they keep doing quite cleverly, and we used to do it under Ed Woodward as well, they keep repackaging themselves with new spin words as if they're a new board with new owners. Well, we're exactly the same. And what I'm going to go through today, we've got Ralph Rangnick's press conference at lunchtime, obviously, which is going to be quite big. But this morning, I've been wanting to do this for a while and I waited for the transfer window to close. I want to talk about the money that Manchester United have wasted over the last 10 years. And more importantly, the money we've got back. So if you think about what our biggest signing was under Ed Woodward was his first signing, which was Fellaini for £30 million. Now, £30 million 10 years ago, you're probably talking, 60 million, maybe 70 million with inflation. We got 10 million back. What did Fellaini do? He was okay for a few years, and we got 10 million from 30 million. You know, and this is the problem with United. I'm going to go through 700 million pounds of spending, and we haven't made 350 back. And we've won next to nothing. And yet this board, and you know where I'm going with this, United's trouble I think United are in big trouble in the future because I think the people who run in the club are incompetent. You know I'm angry, you know I'm fed up, you know I'm pissed off, and you know why. It's because Rangnick wanted a midfielder in January and they said no. And it's because Lingard and Rangnick wanted to part ways and the board said no. It's because this board is incompetent and I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. And I think in the long term, we're going to be in big trouble. And I think as a fan base and as a media and as the world, you need to wake up to the fact that United are nothing more than a shell. They're a franchise and they're being run into the ground by people who are making massive amounts of money from us because that's what they want to do. That's what they were bought for. And I'm tired as well of these journalists. I'm not going to call them out because I don't think journalism actually exists anymore. I think there's one or two that I think, yeah, they're quite good journalists. But, you know, journalism, I'm not naming names, but basically they're not journalists. They've got cosy little relationships with Manchester United who give them information and they get a lot of clicks for it and get people read their articles. And everybody's in a cosy relationship. It's not proper journalism. I've never known United be in a position like this. And we are bereft of hard-hitting stories. You're basically relying on fan content to say what's actually going wrong with the club. Because all these journalists who write in all these bloody papers and stuff like that with their blue ticks, all they ever do is put stuff out about United would like Pochettino. They really admire Pochettino. They're not bought anybody now because they're planning for the summer. They'd really like to play good football with promoting the youth and the principles of Manchester United. It's just the same crap all the time. Why are they not being called out? Why are they not being called out, and why can people not see that we are in a really perilous situation? And I'm not talking about the immediate future. I'm excited about United being back tomorrow. I think there's loads of games we can win in February, and we can get fourth, although it's a battle. But you know what? In the battle for fourth place, that is not success. That is actually not success. That is a lowering of the standard. So we are in trouble because finishing fourth is trouble. It's not good enough. And yet this is the mindset that they try and spin. If we get fourth, it's a successful season. If we go deep, if we get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, the semi-finals of the FA Cup and fourth, that's a good season. That would be a sackable season under a proper football club. So no, I don't think we're in a good position. And I think there's a very high likelihood it could get worse. Oh, absolutely perfect entertainment. Says Oywind, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember reading for that. It's my birthday, says Jimmy. Great. And Mark, you talk. Happy birthday, Jimmy. But there's a time. Mark, you talk about the board being the issue. Bobby Charlton, David Gilserax are on the board. No, David. This is why we fail as a fan base, right? Idiots. This is why we fail, because people don't want to be united. They don't want to blame the board, which is Arnold, Woodward, people like that, the Glazers, Joel Glazer. They start talking nonsense about Sir Alex Ferguson like he gets up in the morning at 7 o'clock, has a shave, put his suits on, goes and sits as the CEO of United and makes decisions. So Bobby Charlton is very old and has actually had health issues recently. They are not sat on the board making decisions about transfers, managers or anything like that. They don't. They are ambassadors on the board. They don't run the club on a day-to-day basis, and neither does David Gill. They're just ambassadorial board members. They don't run the club. The people who run the club were people like Woodward and Arnold, and that's who runs the club. They're who's at fault. That's the issue at Manchester United. The arrogance of those people to think they know better than millions of other people, and more importantly, they know better than a qualified manager. We brought Ralph Rangnick in, and a pressing, keeping Lingard confirms it's a franchise, says Nicholas. We brought Ralph Rangnick in, a manager that rebuilds football clubs, and then we said, no, we're not going to listen to you. That's what we did. That's why I'm frustrated. We brought a manager in, an interim manager, to rebuild this football club, and he's being not listened to by people like Darren Fletcher, John Murtagh, Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward. I mean, bloody hell. And let's just go through the record of some of these people. Now, to be fair to Fletcher, he's only been there a year. Whether he should be there or not, I don't know. But the reality is, happy birthday, Jimmy. The reality is, Arnold, Woodward, Murtagh have been at that club for years, and they've been massively involved in what I'm about to talk about. And what I want to talk about here is there's three things: the price we paid, the price we got or their value now, and how many trophies we've won. And you will see hundreds of millions of pounds wasted with very little in return. And these same people are saying no to Rangnick because they think they know best. They are basically terrible at their job and they're still in place. Good morning. What can change the crappy media coverage and commentary? It's so plain to see. Seb, you know, the journalists need to look at themselves and the cosy relationships they have with Manchester United. You know, some of these journalists are top people. Yeah, you know, they're almost in top red category. Oh, yeah, he's a top journalist. He's a top lad, he is. They never talk about tactics and they never talk about anything particularly negative. They constantly are being fed information and they are constantly spinning a positive, and they won't do anything about it because you know what? Their life's easy. Their bread's buttered. They can write. They've got a friendship. They're messaging. You know, even through the Super League and stuff like that, these people are there messaging the club, having little messages back. It's a disgusting time like that. I don't think they are journalists. I don't. I think they're mouthpieces, a lot of them, and you know, I don't think that's what we need. I genuinely do think, and I'm not being sensationalist. I genuinely do think this is United's worst period since I've been supporting them, and I've been supporting them since the '80s, the late '80s. I don't think I'm being melodramatic. And the reason I think we're in the worst period is because I think a lot of it's hidden. You know, I think you have to dig a little bit deep to realise how bad the situation is, because people go, oh, we could get fourth, we've got Ronaldo. We've not won a trophy for the longest period since between we won the FA Cup in '85 and then when Sir Alex won it in 1990. So this is the longest period United have been out without a trophy in most of your lifetime. That's not being discussed. You know, we've got a very, very shallow squad with a lot of overinflated value in there. But let's go through that. Right, we're just going to go through this and I'll explain why I'm terrified about this board and what they're going to do to this club, and why they're almost like dictators who won't listen to anybody else but themselves, but they think they know what they're on about. I mean, when you are putting out statements like, we're looking for a manager that will win trophies, play good football and promote youth. I mean, bloody hell, I bet Man City woke up this morning and went, shit, why are we not thinking about that? I mean, it's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. And as I said last night, I don't agree with Pochettino being the manager. I really don't. I just think he's another puppet. Will they ever have any positive news around Manchester United, says Irfan? Look, I think in the short term, we'll be fine. And we'll get back supporting Manchester United like we always do in the matches tomorrow. And in the short term, you've got people like Cavani, Ronaldo, Bruno, Varane, David De Gea. We can get fourth. It's just, is that success? And will we get fourth next year? I'm already looking at next year, because that's what the club are telling us to do. You know, we didn't buy anybody in January because they're waiting for the summer. So they can't have it both ways. I think we should have bought a midfielder in January. I think we should have let Lingard go, and I think it would have helped us this season to build for next season. They said no. They said we're waiting for the summer. So, you know, all right, let's look at next season. Oh, no. Think about next season. No, you're waiting till the summer. You're waiting till the summer to do business. So I'm going to look at the summer now. And I'm going to assume we're going to get fourth, because that's what you're basically saying. You've not bought any players in, so we must be going to get fourth. So what does fourth place do with no trophies? Well, it's another year without a trophy. We're into the Champions League again. Fine. Okay, I'd expect that anyway. What have we won? Nothing. We're in the Champions League. Okay, Ronaldo should still be here. Cavani won't be. Pogba won't be. A few others won't be. Who are you going to buy in the summer? You want to go on tour? It's a very short summer. And what we're going to do next year when Newcastle are stronger, when Villa are stronger, when Spurs are stronger, but Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool are already miles ahead. Will we get fourth next year? And that's what I'm looking at. The club are pointing us towards the summer. Pochettino, I'm looking at it and going, I just don't see it. I just don't see United getting anywhere near any major trophies for a very long time under this ownership and board. Hi Mark, would love to see a video on all errors, Glazers and board, mate. We're just about to do it, Nick. We're just about to do it now. And if these prats are so concerned about the new manager, why not give the team new additions, increasing the chance of top four? No Champions League, no signings, says even. Angelo Mangino, Sky Twitter, Chelsea leading the race for Rice and Koundé. We need to forget this Rice thing. Look, if Chelsea want Rice, they've got Rice, Robin. It's as simple as that. There's people in our fan base who just don't seem to understand the fact that Declan Rice wants to go to Chelsea and has always wanted to go to Chelsea. And the only reason he won't go to Chelsea is if Chelsea don't want him. Poch couldn't pull a good performance out of Verratti, Herrera, Wijnaldum. How could he pull anything out of our midfield? Ten Hag is better, says Anmar. Just on the manager situation, though, the vast majority of United fans want Ten Hag. I don't know whether I do. I don't want Pochettino, but I don't know whether I want Ten Hag. I personally would just take a long time to get this right. But that's very worrying, isn't it? Again, the board are going for an option that was probably good 4 years ago. You know, Pochettino is a good choice 4 years ago. I don't think he's a good choice now. It's called Access Media. Journos shill for football clubs, movie companies, etc. in exchange for preferential access. Liam, that actually does go on. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but that does go on. Certain outlets make moves so that they get good information from clubs, and that's not journalism, is it? That's not journalism. Anyway, look, let me go through this because I think you're going to really enjoy this. Well, you might not enjoy it, but it's a harsh reality. Ed Woodward went on Monday. Richard Arnold's been at this club for years. He's not a new CEO. He's been at the club working with Woodward for years. It's just somebody else moving into the job. It's like Murta. Murta's not a new director of football. He's been at the club working on the transfers management for years. So these people have been here for years and they can take ownership of what we're about to talk here as well. They've had a part to play. So I'm going to go. This isn't all of our spending. There'll be loads of signings like Schneiderlin and Memphis that I'm not even going to mention. But I'm going to try and do it chronologically, and I'm going to talk about the signing, the value of that signing, whether we got any money back or what their value actually is now, and what we've won for it. Because these are the three factors where I think United are abysmal, and it's disgusting that they haven't listened to Ranić in January. The value of the player that we've bought, what we got back for them or what they're worth now, and what we've won in trophies. And look at the money we've wasted, right? Fellaini, £30 million nearly 10 years ago. So that was equivalent of 60 million today. Wasn't really good enough for United. Did okay. We sold him for 10 million. That's straight away. That's not a very good deal, is it? Juan Mata, £30 million. Again, around the time of Fellaini. Did we get the best out of Juan Mata? We all love Juan Mata, but for that amount of money, did we get the best out of Juan Mata? Not really. No, we didn't. I don't really understand why we bought Mata. We bought a really good player in Mata, and then we didn't use him in his best position as a number 10. Juan Mata, to me, was a desperation signing by Manchester United board to try and keep Moyes and justify it. And no manager has ever used Mata in the right way, and now it's too late. So I don't think we got the value out of Mata at all. So that's another 30 million. Di Maria, £60 million we spent on Di Maria. A year later, we sold him for 44. We lost £16 million in a year. And what did we get out of that value, that 16 million that we lost? A chip against Leicester. I can get a bag of chips from the local chippy for £1.50. I mean, just ridiculously bad signing, no fault. And the thing about Di Maria is he never wanted to be here anyway. What has he said since? I couldn't give a shit about the Manchester United number 7 shirt. Like, absolutely knobhead behaviour. And that's United. And he never even wanted to come to United. So we actually lost 15 million in a year there on Di Maria. And he spent most of the time not playing anyway. Fred, £50 million on Fred. Now, look, we all like Fred. Fred's a nice guy. But £50 million, what's he worth now? And what have we won with Fred? I don't know. We've won fuck all with Fred. We've got one of the worst midfields in the league with Fred. And we spent £50 million on him. I would say you would get about 25 million for Fred now, maybe 30 if you're lucky. So a 20 million loss on Fred, not really won any trophies, not pulled up any trees. If anything, we give him sympathy good scores most of the time because he basically hasn't played crap. Is Ralph even being consulted for who the manager should be? I very much doubt it, Sarvish, if they're not listening to him on transfers. Next, Bruno, positive, £50 million, probably worth between 80 and 100 now, although not currently signing a new contract, so watch your space on that. Paul Pogba, £90 million, value 0, 6 years. Has he produced? Probably not. Is it his fault? Not saying that. We're talking about the board and their mistakes. £90 million on Paul Pogba. Big, massive signing for Mourinho. This is going to be it. We're going to build a team around Pogba. Never correctly built a team around Pogba. Spent £90 million on him. We've not really won any trophies. He's not been massively consistent and he's walking out the door for nothing. £90 million down the drain. And of course, we're not talking about the wages here. Ridiculous amounts of money. Luke Shaw, £30 million. I'd probably say he's held value and increased value. I think if we sold Luke Shaw, you probably would get more than £30 million. Ander Herrera, £30 million, walks out the door for nothing. Absolutely nothing. At 29. Embarrassing. And yes, it's this same board involved in that. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, £50 million. £50 million. He's in his third season now. How many trophies have we won in that time? None. Has he established himself as Manchester United's first choice right back? No. What's his value now? 30 million. You know, again, 20 million lost, no trophies. Harry Maguire, £80 million. Captain of the club. How many cups have we won with Harry Maguire as captain? None. Is he, you know, some would say he's not even established. We're not even sure if he's a Manchester United quality centre-back. £80 million. Resale value, you'd struggle. I'd say he's a £50 million centre-back, but you're going to struggle on that one. Lukaku, £75 million. Sold him for £75 million, and then Inter sold him for £100 million. That, to me, shows you that, you know, he was actually... How long did he spend at Inter? A year or two? So Inter Milan increased his value by 25 million in a year or two. United brought him in for 75 million. Didn't even increase his value. Did well, actually, to get the money back. Alexis Sanchez and Mkhitaryan. I mean, we bought Mkhitaryan for 40 million. We swapped him for Sanchez, but we paid Sanchez £2 million a week. £2 million a month. And he was a complete... We probably lost anywhere between 10 and 30 million pounds on Sanchez. Ridiculous amounts of money. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So I can total £700 million in spending, where the value of that £700 million is a loss of 50%. You know, the value of the players for sales or what they're worth now is probably around sort of 300 to 350 million. So a 50% loss on £700 million worth of spending and next to no trophies. And this is the board and owners that we've got that are ignoring Ranić and telling you they're doing they're going to appoint the right manager and telling you we're waiting for this summer and it's going to be a big summer. Like, there are so many angles that you can come at this. You could go at the debt, you could go at the total spend, you could look at the trophies. But the reality is, there are worse. They're just the headline ones. There's loads. There's Falcao. There's Schweinsteiger. There's Schneiderlin. There's Memphis Depay. There's just loads and Darmian, Rojo, Eric Bailly. You know, whether you like the player or not, it's just a huge list of expense and nothing in return. Every player virtually has devalued and lost value or not delivered trophies. And yet we've got the same owners and the same board members. And people are going, I hope Richard Arnold's going to be really good. He's been sat there for the last few years presiding over this with everybody else. Oh, I hope Murtaugh's going to be a good director of football. He's been at the club for years. Do you know how many... look, I read the story this week about Gary Neville, who knew about Cancelo from his time in Spain and suggested him to Manchester United, and United said no. Now, I don't know whether that's true. It's a paper story. Whether it's true or not, the reality is there are countless stories of players and scouts that have been recommended to Manchester United that the board have arrogantly gone, or the director of football or whatever, or the chief scout or whatever has said no to. It's just a catalogue of error after error after error. And it's many years of it as well. And yet we are still here as a fan base and a media, sitting here going, well, let's hope Richard Arnold does a good job. Let's hope the Glazers finally sort themselves out. It's not going to happen, is it? I hope it happens. I really do hope it happens. But the evidence is there that it's not going to happen. Because, and the scariest thing of all, was hoping you was going to sing there, maybe Trouble Ahead, Mark, says Glenn. I wish I was in a singing mood, Glenn. But the trouble is, the worst thing is, a lot of rival fans would say to you, well, you're moaning about the Glazers, but they've spent £1 billion in the last 10 years. And that's the worst thing. That is the worst thing. We have spent a lot of money. There is no way out of this mess. Because even if the Glazers go, get Pochettino in and give him 300 million in the summer, this lot would spend it terribly. There is no way out of this mess. Because even if you spend the money, they'll spend it badly. There are so few examples of Manchester United spending money well in the last 10 years. So there is trouble ahead because we're not where we should be. The squad is not as good as it should be. They ignore good advice because they're arrogant. They make decisions themselves that are bad decisions. And even when we do spend money, we spend it badly. I think there is big trouble ahead. And yes, in the short term, I think we will beat Borough. I think we will beat Burnley. I think we will beat Southampton. And we probably will get 4th place. But is 4th place and no trophies a good season for United? Well, some people would say, yeah, well, it is from where we are. It is from where we are. But it's not from where we are. Why can't we win the FA Cup? Why can't we go really deep in the Champions League? Because we're not equipped to do it. So therefore, we're not good enough. And if you are going to celebrate 4th as good short-term success, I get it. We want to be in the Champions League. But what's going to happen next year? If they appoint Pochettino, a large proportion of the media and the fan base, more importantly, are not sure about it. But this board is. And the problem with that is the board saying they're sure Pochettino is going to be a success. Well, I'm sorry. Look at what we've just talked about there about your spending. You've got your confirmation that this is the right decision sinks like a brick in a swimming pool. Nobody trusts it because it's not a very good opinion. As we said last night, we're getting smashed by Liverpool. Oh no, Ollie's the right man and we believe it. And they end up proving their own incompetence because they have to do something that many of you were saying for weeks. Solskjaer needs to be sacked. And what do? No, we're not going to do it. We've had a meeting and we're going to stick by him. He's a nice guy and we believe in him. And then he goes, and what happens? What happens when Solskjaer goes? Massive issues that have been going on in that club for ages. But, they'll pretend everything's fine. And that's the scary thing about United propaganda. Is that right up until Solskjaer got sacked, all the players are with him. Yeah, it's a happy camp. Everybody's really happy. Everyone loves the training. Everyone can't understand why it's all going wrong. The minute he goes and Rangnick comes in, dressing room unrest. But a lot of that dressing room unrest actually fell over from Solskjaer. Like Martial, first thing he said to Rangnick is, I want to go. He was like, I don't, nothing to do with you. I just want to go because of the issues. Loads of players felt like that. Loads of players that you thought were happy under that regime actually were very frustrated with the coaching. But the club were like, no, Ollie's the right man. This is great. You know why the club wanted Ollie to stay in post? And I said it many times. In my opinion, they wanted him to stay in post because he was the perfect barrier for them. To get to the board, you had to go through Ollie, and no one wanted to go through Ollie because Ollie is a legend, a nice guy, and everyone loved Ollie. So they loved having Solskjaer as the manager because he protected the board. It was like, they're never going to go for us because for us, they've got to go for Ollie first. And that's why they wanted Ollie to stay, in my opinion. And that's why now they're desperately looking for the manager that can come in and be that, comfort zone again. And the problem is there really isn't anybody, because if Ten Hag comes in and doesn't do well, they'll be at fault for it, even though the fans want it. If Pochettino comes in, well, the fans don't really want Pochettino, so you're definitely going to be at fault. The reality is, this is why I say trouble ahead, because I actually don't think the Glazers and the board have got anywhere to hide now. I really do applaud, and I say, look, I don't think there's many good journalists out there, but I do really applaud Romano and Ornstein for the way that they covered transfer deadline day on Monday, because if it wasn't for them, because people trust them when it comes to transfers and they've got a very good hit rate, when those two combined are saying things like Manchester, Rangnick wanted a midfielder, the club were offered midfielders and they said no, even though he wanted them, and Lingard was desperate to leave and Rangnick wanted him to leave and the club said no. When you get two journalists like that basically saying those things, those things have happened, and it exposes the board. And I think there is trouble ahead, because I don't think this board's going anywhere and I don't think the owners are going anywhere. There is trouble ahead, but what you need to do is focus on that problem. That is the problem at Manchester United. We all know it's the problem, but there's really tangible evidence that they are, flexing their incompetent muscles again. And, as we've just gone through there, this has been going on for years and years and years. And yet again, we're heading into a key 18 months, I would say, half of this season and next season, where I think by the end of next season, we might be down in 6th place. That's what I'm fearing. I don't see us getting any better. And I see lots of other clubs getting better, being run better. As I said, we are Manchester United. We've got an amazing fan base and we're a massive club. But in a footballing sense, we're not Manchester United. I don't think we are. I think there's much better clubs than us, being much better run. But it really is evident that our future is again in the hands of these incompetent people who've made bad decision after bad decision over the last 8 or 9 years. And what is very clear, and I suppose very sad, but very encouraging in a sense, I suppose, is that there can be no apportion blame to Rangnick. I think he's had a really difficult job. He's come in, he said, let these players go and give me a midfielder, and the club have gone, no, you're probably not going to be the manager in the summer, so no, we're not going to do it. We're waiting for the summer for the real man. And that is basically the message that they've sent out. And, Rangnick's press conference day is always interesting anyway, and I don't think we're going to get major statements about the Mason Greenwood issue or the transfer issue. I wouldn't be surprised if he's asked about the transfer issue and said, look, I was happy with the decisions made about Jesse. As I said, I think there is, it's very, very clear. It's very, very clear that we need a midfielder, and it's very, very clear that Rangnick wanted a midfielder and they didn't get one. If he comes out now and says, well, no, I'm happy with the squad and we decided we didn't need one, yeah, you're just towing the party line there. If he comes out and says, you know what, we decided that Lingard should stay because he's an important part of the team, we know that's bollocks as well. We know that Rangnick wanted him to go, we know that Jesse wanted to go, and we know that the club overruled them both. And if Jesse starts playing football now over the next few months, we know that that's pressure from the club because they want him on a contract to save money. We know these things. And how do the board solve this? I wish they would solve it by going. I wish they would solve it by quitting. I wish they would solve it by the Glazers selling the club and United starting again. That's not going to happen. So how does this situation get resolved? I could write a book on how they could resolve this, and I'm sure you could as well, but I don't see it happening because all I ever hear is that from the top to the board, to the heads of departments, they see things like us, fans, as hysterical and not to be listened to. The only people they will negotiate and discuss with is Manchester United Supporters Trust, because that's the official line into the club for fans, who most fans don't really communicate with. And most people on that forum are people who go to the games from different diversity strands and ex-players, and that's basically who they think are the people to talk to. And they don't want to listen to dissenting voices because they think dissenting voices are just being negative for negative sake. They don't understand the fact that you are making a hell of a lot of money, the Glazers, and that makes you very happy. But actually, we couldn't give a shit about money. I don't really care if we never spend... I actually hope we never do spend more than £50 million on a player again. I mean, I think Manchester City have shown a very, very clear path, apart from the Grealish signing. Man City won a lot of titles spending... not really over £60 million on a player for years. I would love it if United didn't have to spend money on players at all and win trophies. I'm not really demanding that we spend money, but we need to spend money now because the squad is a joke. It is hard to see a way forward with this board. And I think you're right, Victoria. I think it really is. Managing the business down, Mark, says Bolver. We are like the McDonald's, a massive franchise, huge global presence, but the food isn't all that great, says Steve-O. Forgive my ignorance, but do we actually know who is on the Man United board? The only one that is known is Ferguson and Glazers. Who are the rest? Aram, come on. You need to educate yourself on something like that. It's pretty important to know who's on the board of Manchester United, mate. I mean, you've mentioned people there that really you shouldn't... Sir Alex Ferguson should not be associated with this. Yes, he's on the board, but he's an ambassadorial board member. That just he's not there making big decisions. The CEO of this football club for the last 9 years has been Ed Woodward. He's the one in charge, running the club day to day, Joel Glazer's the main Glazer one who makes decisions and sticks his nose in quite a lot apparently. And obviously Richard Arnold, who has been Woodward's right-hand man, is now the main man. They're the main players on that board. They're running the football club. Mark, our owners and board are like engineers trying to build a bridge and don't employ proper management and materials. The cracks are showing and it won't be long before it all collapses, says PJ. City spend a lot but actually make progress. They made mistakes but they learned from it. They are now spending smart. We are not. Pains me to say that, says HTD. And thank you for the super chat there from Chris. I just wanted to go through it this morning because I just feel that, I'm tired of it, and I'm sure many of you are tired of it. I'm tired of the spin. I really am. It's a news show in the morning, and a lot of the time we are talking about the news from specific outlets and journalists that are just becoming very tiresome because they are clearly tapped into the club and feeding stuff out from the club. It's almost like they're on the bloody payroll of the club. And that's fine because, sometimes that information's really valuable. Like you do find things out that are really useful. But the tiring aspect is this constant, this is why we didn't spend money. They're looking at this. This is why they're doing it. And it's tiresome. We actually do need some proper... I'm not a journalist. You're not journalists. We need some proper old school journalism looking into the problems at that club, dissecting it down. Because you can keep repackaging that board, but it's the same people making the same mistakes that have been for years. As I said, Murtaugh's been at that club for years. Some people think this is how clever they are, giving him the director of football job. Some people think he started a year ago. He's been there for years. Richard Arnold as CEO. Some people think he's a new starter. He's been there for years. Like this, it's the same people making the same mistakes, but they keep coming out and acting like it's a new world. And why do they want it to be a new world? So they can have more time to make their mistakes again and get away with it. It's appalling. Absolutely appalling. And they won't listen because they're arrogant and they think they know best. And I ain't got a problem with arrogance. I've got no problem with arrogance. History is full of arrogant, successful people. And you've got to admire it because they know what they're on about. They're sure about it and they succeed. But arrogance combined with incompetence leads to what you've seen at United over the last 9 years. We know best, and then it all falls apart. And the best example, there's numerous examples, isn't there? But the best example is what happened with Solskjaer, when he should have been sacked after the Liverpool game, because no Manchester United manager should be humiliated at home like we were at Old Trafford by Liverpool. And what did the club do? We still think he's the right man for the job. And they persisted. They ignored absolute onslaught of fans saying get rid of him, media saying get rid of him. They ignored it all because a select few people think they know best. And what happened a few weeks later? They had to sack him. And, even that was spun into, it was almost like they wanted to build a statue for him when he left. Because they were still trying to justify that he was the right man, he just wasn't. I mean, that was basically what they did. They sacked Solskjaer and the message was he was the right man, even though he wasn't. Because they still didn't want to accept that publicly they'd been massively sat down by the fan base. And most of this, I love Solskjaer, I still do. A lot of fans were very, very upset about Solskjaer being sacked. And it wasn't because we wanted it to, on a human level, no one wanted it to happen. But on a footballing level, it needed to happen. It needed to happen way before it did. And they still tried to spin it that, culturally we're really going to benefit from what he's done over the last 3 years. And what's happened in the 3 months since? We've had dressing room unrest. We've had absolute chaos. The club is unravelling. Not on the pitch, fortunately. Ranić has provided some stability. But behind the scenes, that club has unravelled because the last 3 years, it's all been kept under the... Keep that quiet. Yeah, we're all happy. Keep it quiet. And now, the lid's come off and it's just, I want to leave. I'm not happy, this, that and the other, They're just not very good at what they're meant to be doing. And I hope one day that they do get good and then they will get the praise. It's like a footballer, isn't it? If a footballer's not playing well for United, you can criticise them. But if they start playing well, they won't get criticised. And I think there are some United players like this. It's almost like it infects them from the top down. There's a big problem in Manchester United Football Club. Some of our players have got it. Some of our coaches have got it. Our board have got it. And our owners have got it. It's an arrogance combined with incompetence where they don't want to learn from their mistakes because they think the criticism's unfair and hysterical. So they keep on making the same mistake because they think they know best. We've got players like that. We've got board members like that. And we've got owners like that. arrogant because they think they're right in the face of massive evidence that they need to improve, and an unwillingness to accept they're wrong and learn from their mistakes, so they keep making the same mistakes again and again. It's like the film Moneyball, albeit baseball. However, we are exactly the same. If the board doesn't back the manager, we will never be successful, says Lewis. You know what? The whole purpose of this video, really, and I've really enjoyed the fact that we've analysed evidence and shown that, you know, most of our spending over the last 10 years has led to massive losses and no trophies. If I'm buying a player, if I'm going to buy Declan Rice in the summer for £80 million, there's three things I want. I want him to be worth £150 million in 3 years' time. I want him to play well, obviously, and I want the team to be better with him in it and therefore winning things. The problem with United is spent too much on players who have no value or hardly any value and win nothing. That's basically United's, and you could probably name 15, 20 transfers like that. Spent too much money, they now have no value, and we've won next to nothing with it. Now you compare that to a Liverpool or a Man City or a Chelsea, there will be some players that didn't succeed, but there'll be a lot that have gone up in value and won them trophies. And that's this board. And, you know, the thing that sparked this for me was Monday, when for the second time this month, Rangnick's been undermined by this board, who are incompetent. 5 million on Zakaria, 10 million for Kamara. Even if the next manager didn't like them, we would have made a profit no matter what, says HTA. Well, you know, you can see why we didn't get Kamara, actually, because he is the complete opposite of 80 million on Harry Maguire, win no trophies and depreciate in value. 10 million on Kamara, instantly doubles his value. Doesn't really matter what he does on the pitch. I mean, even if he's reasonable, his value is just increased double straight away. United don't want to do those sort of deals. We want to spend big, pay big wages on players that aren't good enough, who will depreciate in value and win us nothing. That's basically been our model for 9 years. I don't think that was a deliberate model, but you could fill a 24-man squad with United's players that we've bought for stupid money, paid stupid wages, they've lost value and we've won nothing. You could fill a 24-man squad on Man United over the last 9 years. It's appalling the amount of money that's been lost. It's appalling that Ed Woodward decided to retire. Like, it shows you the understanding of football of people like Joel Glazer and his family, that there is literally hundreds of millions of pounds that have just been, you may as well have put them on a bonfire and burnt it. And they're applauding Woodward out of the club. You know why? Because for all the money he's wasted on the football pitch, he's probably made them shitloads of money in dividends and brands. And there endeth the lesson. We will always look at it from a football point of view, and we've shed hundreds of millions of pounds. But actually, he's made them hundreds of millions of pounds more on brands and dividends. And that's why they loved him. Not because on a footballing sense, he was a failure. But in a brand sense and profit sense, he was a massive success. I wonder if Sir Alex Ferguson left because he knew success will be unsustainable with the new board. Well, no, he didn't, Savish. He left because his sister-in-law died and he wanted to spend more time with his wife, didn't he? Mark, now that Tom Brady's officially announced his retirement, we know where the Glazers are going to be putting their main focus. Well, it's not like they haven't always done that, Chris. Mark, thoughts on Greenwood's refollowing him back on Instagram? Apparently there's an Instagram glitch, Raoul, but as I said, I'm not going to get involved in that. I mean, I think there's a massive assumption that people, as I said, there's a massive assumption around that case that you've got. I mean, I can't comment on it, but I think people are making a massive miscommunication that they think how that's gone. Listen to what the dad said. That's all I'm going to say. Hi, Mark. Did you see Tom Brady's message to the Glazers, thanking them for providing them everything they needed to win, says JV. Look, Tom Brady is the GOAT of American football. And he's done a fantastic job. He's won, 7 Super Bowl rings? It's like Kroenke with the Rams. They are more interested in their own sports. They bought English football teams to make money. They didn't buy them to win trophies. So why would I be surprised that Tom Brady says that the Glazers have done a good job? They did do a good job. They won the Super Bowl. Did we spend too much in the summer? Says Stephen. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go. We have got... Let me just double check this for you because I'm not 100% sure myself. Let's have a look. When's Ranić's press conference? 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. So we will be live at 2 o'clock, just after 2 o'clock for Ranić's press conference. Can we address how as fans we can United do something? Nah, mate, I'm not even going to go down that road, Kevin. Not going to go down that road. It's not for me or you to decide what we do as a fan base to remove the Glazers, because as we know in this fan base, if United Football Club and the board are united in chaos, then the fan base is divided in chaos as well. I can't say anything because it just winds people up. Why are you saying we should do this, do that? Well, if you don't go to a protest, you're not helping. If you do go to a protest, you think it's a YouTube protest. I can't be arsed with any of that. We'll support anything that will remove the Glazers from the club, because I think that's the only way forward. But I'm not getting involved in that. It's not worth the abuse from people who really just don't want the club to be united anyway, to be honest with you, mate. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video, and I will speak to you for the Ralph Rangnick press conference coming up after 2. What I would say about that is, just an early prediction, a lot of people are going, oh, what's Rangnick going to say about the Mason Greenwood situation? I'll tell you what he's going to say about the Mason Greenwood situation. He's going to say what most of us should be saying. It's an ongoing investigation, and at this moment in time, Mason Greenwood shouldn't be playing for Manchester United, because that's all you can say without knowing what's going on. So I don't think he's going to sit there and start saying things about... I'd very much doubt he'll say anything, about appalling behaviour or anything like that, because ultimately we don't know what's going to happen with that case at the moment. So I don't think there'll be much on that. What I'm more looking forward to is him being asked about Jesse Lingard transfers, because if he comes out and toes the line like Ollie did, I'm be very disappointed in Rangnick. I don't want another puppet at Manchester United, but you're almost a puppet when you don't want to be, because they won't listen to you anyway. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all in a bit.